Hello everyone, welcome back.
Hi, hope you enjoyed part 1 of our presentation on airborne software development and certification process.
A warm welcome to part 2 of our presentation on Airborne Software Development and Certification DO178C. In part 1, we had discussed how standards help us and why DO178C. We then took you through the software planning process in detail. With respect to the software development process, we covered the software requirement process, software design process, and software coding processes in detail. In this presentation, we will cover the integration process of the software development process, the integral processes, the use of previously developed software, field loadable software, and user modifiable software. The purpose of integration process is to integrate the executable object code into the target computer using compilation, linking, loading from the integration process to develop the integrated system or equipment. There are 7 objectives to be met in the software development process. The objective with respect to this phase is objective number 7. Which specifies that executable object code and parameter data item files, if any, are produced and loaded in the target computer.
Gracie, can we have a quick discussion on these parameter data item files?
Parameter data item files refers to the data which can be configured outside the build without modifying the executable object code. It has to be managed as a separate configuration item. For example, during flight testing, the same software can be used with a different set of data without changing the software.
Now, what about the documentation required for these parameter data item files?
For each PDI file, configuration management should be in place. Description of the development processes applicable to data has to be defined and described in the plan documents. Data should be assigned the same software level as the software itself. Purpose of software integration process is to integrate the code into modules, components to make the final build. Then to generate the executable object code from the source code and to load it onto the target hardware. It is also to generate checksum for the version. Let us consider what are the important aspects of integration review. Integration review verification records will show evidence that all integration process objectives have been satisfied. All integration process activities have been performed, and it also shows evidence that all integration process data is correct and complete. All configuration management objectives are satisfied in configuration management records. It is also to ensure that SQA objectives are satisfied in software quality assurance records and certification licensing process is in place. The purpose of integration process verification is to detect and report errors that may have been introduced during the integration process. Transition criteria for verification of outputs of software coding and integration process. The following inputs are to be available for verification: source code, executable code, compilation details, build details, and software requirements data, software design document, and traceability data. So, the coding and integration reviews in DO178C comes under SOI 2, covering source code, executable object code, coding standards, verification data, SQA data, and SCM data. After completion of the code integration, we will now move on to another important phase in the software development life cycle, namely testing. The purpose of testing is to demonstrate that software satisfies its requirements with a high degree of confidence, that errors leading to unacceptable failure conditions as determined by the system safety analysis process have been removed. So, testing is to ensure that all requirements are satisfied and all failure modes are addressed. Failure modes are taken from the system safety analysis process. The objectives of testing of outputs of the integration process includes: executable object code complies with the high-level requirements. Executable object code is robust with the high-level requirements. Executable object code compiles with the low-level requirements. Executable object code is robust with the low-level requirements. Executable object code is compatible with the target computer. The purpose of the verification output is to demonstrate that software review results are accurate and complete. Analysis results are accurate and complete. Test procedures and results are accurate and complete. The objectives of verification process results are: test procedures are correct, test results are correct and discrepancies are explained, test coverage at high-level requirements are achieved, test coverage of low-level requirements are achieved, test coverage of software structure is achieved, test coverage of software structure in terms of decision coverage is achieved, test coverage of software structure in terms of statement coverage is achieved. So now shall we discuss some test case criteria?
Sure, Gracie. We'll take a look at some of the criteria for test cases. 1. The input failure modes. Here software testing shall include hardware and software input failure mode testing. 2. The boundary test conditions, where software testing includes the boundary out of bounds and boundary crossing test conditions. Then we have the input data rates, where the software testing includes the minimum and maximum input data rates to determine the system's capabilities. The zero value testing, we shall include input values for 0, 0 crossing, approaching 0 from either direction, and similar values for trigonometric functions. The operator interface testing, here we shall include the operator errors to verify safe system response to these errors. In the duration stress testing, the stress test time is the maximum expected operating time under simulated operational environments and peak loading conditions.
But Sudha, what about regression testing? How do we select test cases for regression testing?
Yes, Gracie, for regression testing, the criteria is to select test cases where there are recent code changes or functional changes. Then we select test cases that map to the basic functionality, to select test cases in areas with frequent bugs or defects, and to select all the integration test cases. Now, as mentioned in DO 178C, testing of airborne software has two complementary objectives. One is to demonstrate that the software satisfies its requirements. Another is to demonstrate with a high degree of confidence that errors which could lead to unacceptable failure conditions as determined by the system safety assessment process has been removed. Now this figure in DO 178C, it depicts the software requirement-based testing process. The software requirement-based low-level test, the software integration test, and hardware-software integration tests are carried out together with the aim of achieving complete software requirement coverage and also the software structural coverage.
Sudha, is there a need to do module-level testing when we are carrying out RBT?
That's a good question, Gracie. As shown in figure, there is a conditional path which you can see for additional verification. So this path is executed when complete structural coverage is not achieved in the requirement-based testing process. So here only the modules for which structural coverage could not be achieved is subjected to module-level testing. So we'll be discussing more on requirement-based testing in the next few slides. So first, let us take a look at what is this requirement-based testing. So requirement-based testing ensures that the requirements are testable. Design necessary and sufficient set of test cases from those requirements that ensure coverage. Important advantages, structural and functional coverage are achieved together, thereby saving time and cost. So the maximum coverage is achieved with minimum number of test cases. To explain better, let us understand what we do in our traditional testing process. Here we have two parts, one for system level testing, which is more of a black box testing for achieving 100% functional coverage, and another path for module level testing for achieving 100% structural coverage. That is, in one path, the code goes through static analysis and dynamic analysis and the module level test report is generated. In the other part, we build the code for the target for system level testing and system level test report is generated.
Sudha, will you tell me the advantages of requirement-based testing?
Yes, Gracie. Requirement-based testing reduces duplication and effort in testing. Here, test cases are designed based on high-level and low-level requirements, and the code is built for the target to achieve both structural and functional coverage.
So, if 100% structural coverage is not achieved in RBT, what to do?
Yes, Gracie. One reason could be there could be missing requirements and so no corresponding test cases. Next, there could be presence of dead code, then this needs to be removed. Or at times there could be a limitation in the test facility that is used. It's not always possible to upgrade the test facility, due to which module level testing needs to be carried out for a small percentage of code. So the test reviews in DO178C comes under the stage of involvement number 3, which covers test cases and procedures, test results, verification data, SQA data, and the software configuration management data. The software coverages as per DO178C for each level is given in the table. Let's start from the lowest level of criticality. So level E has no coverage requirements. Level D requires only 100% requirement coverage. For level C, we need to carry out 100% requirement and statement coverage. For level D, we need 100% requirement, statement and decision coverage. And for level A, apart from the 3 coverages, we also need to do a modified condition decision coverage. Over to Gracie for details on software configuration management.
Thanks, Sudha. Let me explain software configuration management. The integral processes defined in DO178B include software configuration management also. The purpose of software configuration management process is to establish secure and effective configuration control for all artifacts. The following activities are done within the process: configuration identification, change control, baseline establishment, and archiving of the software. Output of the software configuration management process is the software configuration index.
Gracie, can you now list some symptoms of poor configuration management?
Sure, Sudha. The common symptoms and associated questions about poor configuration management are: everything is as per release note, but the program is not working. Works in location 1 and misbehaves in location 2. I have fixed this bug last month, but how did it reappear? I haven't changed the program. Why is it blowing up now? Which is the latest source code? I need to patch. Last month, user asked for this change. Now they do not want it. What do I do with it? Will I need to code it again? Now the question is, why do these problems occur? We have listed a few instances why these problems occur. It is because of poor release management, no or poor version control, code not stored in a central place, developers working on local copies of the code which is not checked in. Anyone can overwrite anyone's code. No labeling of version or releases, no mechanism to roll back, and no backup procedure. All these problems lead to the situation of yesterday it worked fine, but today it's not working. There is no consistent or predictable behavior. So, without software configuration management, we may end up in an alarming situation and may not be able to deliver the product in time.
Thank you, Gracie. Now we know why these problems occur. But can we list some typical pain areas in the development environment?
Yes, Sudha. Some of the pain areas are simultaneous updates, how to prevent one person from undoing the changes of another. Second problem is shared or common code, how to notify everyone who needs to know about a change. Versions, how to make changes to all affected versions when needed. All these pain areas are eliminated by using proper software configuration control and management. Objectives of the software configuration management process are: configuration items are identified, baselines and traceability are established, problem reporting, change control, change review, and configuration status accounting are established, archive, retrieval and release are established, software load control is established, software lifecycle environment control is established. We have discussed software configuration management in detail. Now, shall we discuss the software quality assurance process, Sudha?
Yes, Gracie. Let's discuss software quality assurance process. The purpose of the software quality assurance process is to provide assurance that the software lifecycle process is going to yield quality software. Each process is analyzed to show that each process is producing the expected outputs. Any changes from originally proposed plans are reported, evaluated, and resolved to ensure process integrity. The outputs of the software quality assurance process includes software quality assurance records, software conformity review, and the software accomplishment summary. Let us now understand what is software quality assurance and what is this independent verification and validation, or IV&V. So when we define software quality assurance process is a process for providing adequate assurance that the software products and processes in the project lifecycle conform to their specified requirements and adhere to their established plans. The independent verification and validation is a system engineering process employing rigorous methodologies for evaluating the correctness and quality of the product throughout the life cycle.
Sudha, can you bring out the differences between SQA and IV&V?
Gracie, when we list the differences between SQA and IV&V, our first finding is that the software quality assurance focuses on software process verification, while IV&V, or independent verification and validation, focuses on product verification. So SQA checks whether process is followed based on defined standards and plans, while IV&V focuses on product verification, wherein safety and performance of the realized system are important. Now, let us study this figure. The output artifacts of the software development lifecycle activity, along with standards and plans, are provided as inputs to both SQA and IV&V. We see that SQA checks output product against standards and plans and releases SQA reports, while IV&V checks output products against input in each software lifecycle phase and produces IV&V reports. Let us now see how IVNV and SQA processes are planned across different organizations. Now, many international organizations have separate software quality assurance and independent verification and validation directorates. In major organizations in India, like ISRO, BEL, ADA, and many DRDOs, SQA is a part of IVNV. The DRDO standard for software development, that is a DSSG, addresses the IVNV activities and SQA activities to be carried out throughout the software development life cycle. The quality assurance process has to meet 5 objectives as per DO-178C. Objective number 1, it states, assurance is obtained that software plans and standards are developed and reviewed for compliance with this document and for consistency. Then we have an assurance that software lifecycle processes comply with approved software plans. Assurance is obtained that software lifecycle processes comply with approved software standards. Number 4 is the assurance that is obtained that transition criteria for the software lifecycle processes are satisfied. And finally, assurance is obtained that software conformity review is conducted. So now that we have seen the objectives of software quality assurance process, shall we move on to another important process in the software development life cycle, namely the certification licensing process that will be taken up by Gracie?
Yes, Sudha. Certification license process is one of the major processes in DO-178C and is a part of integral process. In this phase, compliance to PSAC is assessed. Certification authority assesses the PSAC for its completeness and consistency against the certification basis. Compliance determination is by reviewing the software accomplishment summary and evidences of compliance. Accomplishment of planned activities are described in the software accomplishment summary, and evidences reported regarding the compliances are also verified. There are 3 objectives to be accomplished for certification license process. They are communication and understanding between the applicant and certification authorities is established. Means of compliance is proposed and agreement is arrived at. Compliance substantiation is provided. SOI 4 is the final review as per DO-178C for certification. The entry criteria for SOI 4 are: final software build is completed, software verification is completed, software conformity review has been conducted, software product is ready for formal system approval. With this, we come to the completion of software development lifecycle process. In case of airborne systems, the build can be certified for flight trials. Now that we have completed all the processes in DO-178C, let us see how many objectives are required to be fulfilled for the different levels of criticality, that is level A, B, C, D and E. For level A, there are 71 objectives to be complied. For level B, 69. For level C, 62. And level D, 26. And for level E, no objectives. Just prove you are at level E.
Gracie, shall we quickly look at what are the types of legacy system software that is defined in DO-178C?
Sudha, first of all, let us understand the legacy system software as per DO-178C. It arises when there is need to use software previously certified for earlier standards. FAA advisory circular gives us the guidance for transitioning to DO-178C while making modifications. There are 4 types of legacy systems. Type A is software is not modified and reinstalled on the original aircraft. Type B is software is not modified but installed on a different aircraft. Type C is software is modified and reinstalled on the original aircraft. Type D is software is modified and reinstalled on a different aircraft.
Gracie, now that we know the types of legacy systems, how do you go about certifying these legacy systems?
The following aspects are to be considered for certification. Certification basis for the original product containing the legacy software is available. DO178B is accepted means for compliance for software for the product. Software level is equivalent to the level for which original certification is done. Whether the software is being modified or changed since the original certification. If the software has been modified, then the reasons for modification, whether the software and legacy systems are being installed on the same or different aircraft. Baselining of the software development lifecycle artifacts that are different from the original certification. Impact analysis of changed portion of the software and regression testing. Now Sudha, shall we understand what is previously developed software?
Yes, Gracie. The additional considerations defined as per DO178C includes this previously developed software. The analysis activities for the proposed modifications to previously developed software includes 1. The impact of software requirement changes, impact of software architecture changes, the consequences of the software requirement changes upon other requirements, areas affected by the change to be determined and re-verified. This could be done by data flow analysis, control flow analysis, timing analysis, or traceability analysis.
What are the situations under which PDS can be used, Sudha?
Yes, Gracie. The situations are, one is a new development environment. If software development tools are used, guidelines for tool qualification becomes applicable. If a different compiler is used, resulting in different object code, the previous test results may not be valid for the structural coverage criteria of the new application. The second possibility, there is a new target processor or other hardware. Then the results from previous software verification process activity directed at the hardware-software interface should not be used for the new application. The reviews of hardware-software compatibility should be repeated. And in case there is integration with other software other than that used for the original application, in this case, the verification of interfaces should be conducted. Now, what are the conditions for which baseline upgradation of previously developed software is required? The conditions are the airborne software could be developed to other guidelines. The software previously developed to this document itself but at a lower level. The airborne software developed prior to the existence of this document. Or it could be for the commercial off-the-shelf software. So, it is important for us to know the guidances for upgrading a development baseline. These guidances include the objectives of DO178C should be satisfied while taking advantage of software lifecycle data of the previous development that satisfies the objectives for the new application. The software lifecycle data from a previous development should be evaluated to ensure that the software verification process objectives of the software level are satisfied for the new application. Reverse engineering may be used to generate software lifecycle data that is inadequate or missing in satisfying the objectives of DO178C. The applicant should specify the strategy for accomplishing compliance with this document in the plan for software aspects of certification. Now, the question is, Gracie, what should the software configuration management process for a new application include?
Thank you, Sudha. Let me explain the software configuration management process for previously developed software. It includes two important points. One, traceability from the software product and the lifecycle data of the previous application to the new application. Change control that enables problem reporting, problem resolution, tracking of changes are also to be available. Now coming to the SQA process for PDS, it should ensure that software components satisfy or exceed the software lifecycle criteria of the software level of the new application. It would ensure that changes to the software lifecycle process are stated in the software plans. Another topic in additional considerations for DO178C includes field loadable software. Software that can be loaded without removal of the equipment from the aircraft. For example, LRUs which are having in-situ programming facility. For field loadable software, we have to verify that post-load verification procedures are available. Actions for identifying of unsuccessful load or inappropriate software has to be available. Reference